Okay, so on that verse, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but they realized it because he said God is working on this day, and so am I. So he compared himself right there to God, and then he said that, if I remember the verse correctly, that he called God his father.
Making himself equal to God, meaning that since the Father has every right to work on the Sabbath and not stop, being the Son, he has that same authority that God does to work on the Sabbath, which is not true for anyone else. In other words, the point is, no Jew can work on the Sabbath, but God is exempt because God must constantly and continually work on every day. Because if he stops working on the Sabbath, who's going to sustain the universe?
Yeah, and in that verse, I would say it's specific too, because you could just say, "Oh, we're all sons of God," but no, he likened himself to God on the Sabbath, working that he does too.
Yeah.
So that
How
like
does that make
added to it.
equal to God the Father?
For the reason I tried to ignore it.
Because you pretended to get it, and I gave you the answer, and you're still confused. So, how does that prove that he was making himself equal to God the Father?
Because he's working just as God works to sustain creation.
So, how does that show equality? Explain it to me.
Because how does? Okay, I'm sorry. You're gonna have to explain that part because I thought that was the answer.
No, working on the Sabbath, okay. How does that
Mhm.
show that he's claiming to be equal to the Father?
I would say because he likened himself to God. So it's just like
So, how
my
does that
father
prove
is
that
always
he's
work.
likening himself to God? I still don't get the answer. You're just repeating what it says.
I'm sorry, unless you're gonna have to tell me. I'm sorry.
Even though I explained it, but you're too excited to hear yourself. My goodness, and then the verse says I'm rude. Astaghfirullah. Did you hear what I just said? I just said, if you're a Jew under the covenant,
Hmm.
are you exempt from observing the Sabbath, or you're bound to observe the Sabbath?
You're bound to it.
Is God the Father bound to keep the Sabbath?
No,
Why?
because he created it.
Okay, so he created it. Why isn't he subject to it? Why?
Because I mean, God is subject to no one and nothing. I would say.
You sure about that? Because it says that God cannot deny himself because he has to be faithful to himself, to his nature. So why is God exempt from working on the Sabbath?
Because he has to work to sustain creation.
You got it. So if God were to take a break on the Sabbath, there goes creation, right?
Of course, yeah.
So the Jews knew because God Almighty sustains every part of creation and preserves every part of creation, he cannot stop actively sustaining creation, or there goes creation. No one would exist, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So he has no choice but to work on the Sabbath. But that's true of only God, right? Creatures don't need to work on the Sabbath, so they're subject to the Sabbath, right?
Yes, of course.
So when Jesus says, my Father's working, I too am working, meaning because I am his son and I'm one with him, I have the same right and the same authority to work on every day of the week, even Sabbath that he has, because like my Father, I am free from Sabbath restriction, because like my Father, I am personally actively sustaining creation with him every day, every second of the week. That's how they knew he was claiming to be equal. Because no one but God is free from Sabbath observance. Because God must actively be working on the Sabbath and every second continually to keep creation going. But if Jesus is a mere creature, then he does not have that freedom. But as a Jew, he's bound to the Sabbath. But his point is no, I'm his son in a unique way, in a special way, which makes me one with him, which authorizes me to do whatever he does, whenever he does it, on any day he does it, because we're always working together. That's how they knew he was claiming to be equal. You understand?
Yes, sir. It's beautiful.
Everyone got it? You understand how he said, like my Father is exempt from the Sabbath, I, his son, one with him, same authority that he has, have the same right that he has to work on the Sabbath because I am the Son who always does what the Father does in the same way he does it. So when he acts, I act. When he moves, I move because I am the unique Son who has the same authority of the Father over Sabbath. But that's something no creature can claim. And he says it right here. Jesus gave them this answer. Very truly I say to you, truly I tell you, the Son can do nothing by himself. He can do only what he sees his Father doing, because whatever the Father does, the Son also does. Now let me explain how this proves he's not a creature. No creature can say, I can only do what God does. Nothing more, nothing less. Can a creature say that?
Not at all.
No creature can say, I do whatever God does in the same way that God does it. Right?
Yes.
But Jesus just said, I can only do what the Father does and tells me to do. No more, no less, because I'm inseparable from him. And I always do what the Father does in the same way he does it. So when my Father acts, I act, and the Spirit acts. When my Father works, I'm working, because we always work together and cannot do otherwise. So he can't act and I remain inactive, because as the Son who's one with him, I'm always actively working with him, side by side, alongside of him, because that's all I can do, and that's all that I do. So the only time I can stop working on the Sabbath is when my Father stops working on the Sabbath, because I can only work and only act in perfect union with him. So when he acts, I act. And I can't do otherwise but act and work when he acts and works, because of their inseparable union. You understand?
Yep, got it.
So the moment the Father moves, the Son is moving at the same time with the Spirit. That's his point. I can't help but work, because I can't help but do what he does whenever he does it, in the same way he does it. That is a claim that no creature can make. If everyone got the point, that is a claim no creature can make. But they didn't believe that, because they saw a man. They were not seeing God. They saw a man, but they didn't know this was God as a man in the flesh. All right, now what I'm going to leave you with this final point, what I'm trying to get at. All this 1 hour rant that I gave you was to show you Jesus did not debate for the sake of debating. Jesus did not engage people who are argumentative, stiff-necked, hardened, and blasphemous. He rebuked them, he insulted them, he belittled them, he shamed them, and he drove them away, because they had proven that they're dogs who are resistant to the truth. Matthew 16:1-4. The Pharisees and Sadducees came to Jesus and tested him by asking him to show them a sign from heaven. Remember, he had shown them sign after sign after sign after sign, and they're still not satisfied, right? And what was the pattern? No matter how many signs he showed them, still not enough. Still didn't believe, but double down, right?
Yes, yes.
So what did Jesus say to them? He replied, when evening comes, you say it will be fair weather, for the sky is red. And in the morning, today it will be stormy, for the sky is red and overcast. You know how to interpret the appearance of the sky, but you cannot interpret the signs of the times that the kingdom of God is upon you. So look what he calls them, a wicked and adulterous generation. By the way, I'm going to show Ishu Mashiach the receipts, that the Aramaic word that I found, Syriac, is a very, very graphic translation of the Greek, because it means a pimp, someone who pimps people. But anyway, I'm still trying to confirm that in one of the editions uses the word kachba. But anyway, a wicked adulterous generation looks for a sign, but none will be given it except the sign of Jonah. Jesus then left them and went away. Did he entertain them?
No, he left them and went away.
Did he give them a sign?
No.
Did he try to engage them theologically and have a debate?
No.
Did he insult them and call them wicked and adulterous?
Yes, sir.
You with me there? Did he insult them?
Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah.
All right, now, what does he say to the Pharisees here? Okay, listen. Woe to you, teachers of law and Pharisees, you hypocrites. He called them hypocrites here, right? You shut the door of the kingdom of heaven in people's faces. Yourselves do not enter. So he said, you're not going to enter, you're going to go to hell. And you make everyone else who follows you go to hell too. But here, I want you to see this. You blind fools. The word fool, it's moron. You idiot, you moron. So did Jesus do what you do? Engage people and debate with people and argue with people that double down and refuse to accept correction or refuse to see? Because
No,
these people thought Jesus was wrong. He is fake. So what did Jesus do? Insult them, belittle them, sent them out of the way, or just left them here. In this case, who walked away from them? Let's see here. Matthew 16. When he was done with them, who walked away from them?
Jesus then left and walked away.
So who walked away from them?
Jesus.
So then, if Jesus walked away, and no one can love people more than Jesus, why do we think we can outlove someone more than Jesus, outlove Jesus, and engage people that show they don't want to hear?